Hi guys, this is chapter 5 and hopefully if I can by 6 minutes do chapter 6 as well. So how do ecosystems operate? Ecosystem, what is the definition of it? Ecosystems where biotic, living, for example plants and animals, and abiotic, for example soil pH, water pH, sunlight, etc. They all are interdependent. This means that they rely on each other for survival. A biome is just referring to a large ecosystem. A producer produces its own food from the sunlight of the sun, so the sun's energy. A consumer is one that eats other organisms for energy, and the top predator is called the apex predator, and this is obviously at the top of the food chain. A food chain is basically referring to what eats what, and energy transferred, and biomass is just the amount of weight and organic matter. Decomposers are living microorganisms that break down dead organic matter, and they release this into they release nutrients back into the soil. This is known as nutrient recycling. Humans can help with nutrient cycling too. For example, if you go to the forest, sometimes it gets stuck onto you and you can spread it. So this is germination, and like bees do this too, they pollinate. So if you introduce a predator, obviously the prey they're gonna reduce in numbers. But if you have a lower predator, like less predators, then there's gonna be more prey. And to reintroduce like a predator can restore balance as well. For example, the Yellowstone National Park. There's different rainforests. I don't think you need to know in detail, but I'm just going to go over them. Tropical rainforests, deserts, tropical grasslands, temperate grasslands, Mediterranean, deciduous forests, for example Epping Forest, 25 kilometers wide, 177 moss, 700 fungi, coniferous forests, and tundra. Tropical rainforest, the climate is very hot, because there's obviously high insolation at the equator, and they're located in a linear belt. For example, in Brazil, they're all located in a chain. Vegetation is there's lots of thriving vegetation. There's lots of biodiversity. Biodiversity means the variation in the biology aspect. And soils are very poor and thin, but nutrient cycling helps with this. Like the continuous recycling helps with the growth of these. So adaptations to the forest, well, what helps the poor soils? Well, many plants have buttress roots, so they can reach in for all the nutrients. Nutrient cycling obviously helps as well. Heat and humidity, water cycle helps to keep warm. Waxy cuticle, which prevents water loss, as well as not allowing the water to go, because you can't wilt if you become too turgid. Competition for sunlight, they have wide leaves, broad leaves. Some parasitic plants, basically climb up on other leaves or trees, for example vines, and they try to reach the top. And they also have like a waxy cuticle, etc. Animals, they obviously compete as well for food, territory, mates, and shelter, and food and water. And yeah, for example, the toucan has a sharp beak. A sloth is very slow to prevent energy loss and energy transfer, strong grip, etc. And so there's 4 layers to the rainforest. We have the top one, which is emergent, very top, canopy, under canopy, and shrub, where very little light is. Deforestation, the scale of deforestation is 1 hectare per second or 60 hectares per minute. And some increasing, some decreasing. So what do the indigenous tribes use it for? They use it for slash and burn. They use it for making their houses, fruits and nuts, food, fuel from the wood. So what are the causes? I'm only going to remember I'm only going to talk about the ones that I know. For example, 80% cattle ranching, 3% logging, 2% other. For example, the Trans-Amazonian Railway, which will further lead to exploitation, is 7,000 kilometers wide, and housing as well includes under 2%. So the impacts: loss of biodiversity, loss of habitats, soil erosion because it's exposed. This leads to river pollution because it's more surface runoff. Loss of indigenous tribes, 330 to 240 in 2015. And this means a lack of knowledge. Fewer goods, for example vanilla, and the 25% of cancer-curing drugs that are found there, for example, the periwinkle, and fewer services, because the rainforest is an example of a hydroelectric power source or solar energy source, as well as it being a carbon sink. It absorbs carbon dioxide. And so some management techniques include, so international include like agreements, for example, the Tropical Timber Agreement or sites, and these prevent like building on rainforests. Conservation is protecting the area and like allowing it to be used, but protection is not allowing it to be used at all. Depth reduction can also help. What should the national governments do? Obviously have fines, prevent illegal poaching, bans, etc. More on a local scale, you can use selective logging, only allow trees at a specific height, aka pollarding, to be cut. You can use agroforestry. Can someone please tell me the difference between agroforestry and replanting? Because I'm not sure. But I think agroforestry is a rotation of crops, for example, crop rotation, or replanting is just replanting every tree. So if you cut one tree, then you replace it with another. And obviously offer bans and fines to people who have illegal poaching and protect those extincted species. That's all of your tropical rainforests and ecosystems done, and that's a wrap.